eaten so many of these candies. I kid you not, just sitting here. What is up, you guys? It's me, Vic. Welcome back to another C'est La Vic YouTube video. We're now in my new studio space. Of course, the customs for this video are going to be White Rabbit candy. I actually started sketching all of this more than 6 months ago. So I have 2 pairs of these Air Force Ones. They were purchased for another project back in the day that never panned out. We need to make something with it. And like, come on. This is a no-brainer. This onto this, super easy, super simple, pretty straightforward, right? Like, you can see what I'm thinking. Nothing we do here is ever simple or easy. This is gonna look really cute. I'm really excited. Candy customs are my jam. I have this idea for the packaging of the sneakers once I'm done with it. Already I know that some part of it is not gonna work out, so, you know, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. Let's just get into the customs. Make sure you subscribe if you're not already subscribed. Leave me a comment down below because I love reading your comments, and let's just get into it. Cool, let's get to work.
You already know the first step is to prep the sneakers for paint. I'm using acetone on cotton pads and cotton swabs here to get into all the corners and remove as much of the factory finish from the surface as I can. There's always a lot of fluff flying around in my workspace. I don't want that getting mixed in when I paint, so I'm taking a bit of tape to remove as much dust as I can. I mean, let's get into a bit of the background of the White Rabbit candy. Fun fact, it was originally named Mickey Mouse Sweets, and it even featured the Disney character on its packaging. But as you guessed it, the copycat branding doesn't age well, so it was later rebranded to feature a white rabbit on top of an artist's paint palette. And the iconic, super recognizable color scheme of the packaging is red, blue, and black against a white background. So that's exactly the color palette I'm working with in these customs. The only 2 custom colors I'm mixing here are the blue for the wrapping paper and the creamy vanilla color of the candy itself. I'm using mostly Tarago colors with some Angelus just to get the right hue that I need. I've never done a Storytime before, but like I mentioned in the intro, there's a bit of a story associated with these Air Force Ones and why I have 2 pairs of them just sitting in my closet untouched for so long. So back in 2020, this was relatively early in my Instagram journey. A rapper reached out to me for a custom. He said, "I love your work, let's make something. I got something dope for you to make." By the way, I'm cleaning up paint here as I go with a Q-tip, especially in the early layers, because it's always harder to clean up at the very end without accidentally smudging paint you don't want to mess up. Okay, now back to the story. He wanted for me to make a pair of custom Air Force Ones with his album cover art on it for a music video he'll be filming in 3 weeks' time. And he was going to wear these sneakers in the video. Time to freehand this White Rabbit logo because you know I'm too lazy to use stencils. I'm pretty sure it's simple enough to airbrush if you wanted to, and the 2 rabbits would be symmetrical on both sides. To be honest, I had never heard of this person before this, but with some half-ass internet stalking, I did find out that he has 3 million plus followers on Instagram. He's an artist under Jay-Z's label, and many of his posts involve posing in front of fancy cars in name brand clothing and bags of money scattered everywhere. So, as an amateur artist, I was down for any opportunity, thinking it would lead to something bigger. Publicity, clout if you will, whatever it was. Turns out his label had already commissioned another sneaker artist to customize him a pair of sneakers, but he didn't like the way they turned out. He wanted me to do it. After we discussed all the details for the job, I sent over an invoice, which at the time was very affordable because I totally undercharged for my work. This was, of course, after I had bought 2 pairs of Air Force Ones in his supposed size, thinking I'd be working on this project. You wouldn't believe what he said next. Okay, so here I'm finishing up painting the black on the quarter panel. Black backgrounds are so good because they cover up any smearing, out-of-line paint, which is why I wasn't too careful when I was painting the swoosh red. And I think I've said this before, but to get smooth, even application, it's best to use a wide brush for the job. So that's what I'm trying to do here. I also always try to peel back or stretch out any panels so that I can paint underneath the stitching. Shoes stretch when you put your feet in them, especially leather sneakers. So if you skip this part, this white outline will appear when you or your client wears the sneakers. You can't prevent all of it, but I always do my best to get as much as I can. Then I just go over each section with a couple more layers of paint until the color is opaque and smooth. It typically takes me 5 to 6 passes with thin layers to achieve the coverage that I like. And some more finishing touches on the White Rabbit logo. It's really starting to come together. Up until this point, I still hadn't decided whether I should paint the toe box that cream color or not. And that's why I kept it white all along. But what the heck, let's just do it, let's paint everything vanilla. By far the most tedious step is painting edges. This part makes me hold my breath, but boy does it make your customs look clean. I decided the subtle way to add some touches of red is to extend the outline a tiny bit so it's visible from the front. The red kind of cuts up the beige color a little bit and adds elements of the packaging to the design. The next part I'm tackling is the Eyestay. I thought the rabbit pattern that's on the edge of the wrapping paper would be perfect for this part. So I'm measuring how thick it is for some stencils because your girl ain't gonna sit here trying to freehand 20 symmetrical rabbits on each shoe. I'm crazy, but I'm not that crazy. The Eyestay was probably the most tedious and time-consuming part of this entire custom. And here I'm actually cutting off all of the ears because I don't want to deal with that part. I'm just gonna freehand that at the end. Just painting the Eyestay took me 6 hours per sneaker. And I know what you're thinking, why don't you just airbrush it? Well, 1, everyone knows that I have a vendetta against cleaning an airbrush. And 2, since the pattern goes over a lot of stitches, it wouldn't give me the clean lines I want anyways. So I'm not wasting my time taping these up for airbrushing. I'm just using these stencils as a rough guide for me to clean up the rabbits afterwards. As you can see, the stencils don't come out super clean, but that's where the touch-ups come in. I'm just a sucker for some good old-fashioned hand painting, and it really lends to that porcelain feel of the blue and white pattern here, making the custom truly unique. Beauty comes at a price though. This part took so long and truly made my hands cramp up. I'm pretty sure it was starting to make me cross-eyed too. I had this genius idea, if I do say so myself, of incorporating the actual candy wrapper into the tongue tag. So first I cut out some pieces of recycled leather and clear vinyl to the size of the tongue tag. Then I positioned the wrapper to center the logo. I'm just using some double-sided tape here to keep the wrapper from moving when we're stitching it onto the tongue of the shoe. Also, a bit more tape on the back to secure the overhanging wrapper as well as to adhere the clear vinyl on top. The layout worked out serendipitously so that the Eyestay kind of frames the logo, like it does on the actual wrapper. Using a lacing stitch punch and a mallet, I'm pre-punching the holes on the top seam of the new tongue tag, making sure that the holes went through all of the layers, and you can see them from the back. Then I'm going to rotate the tag and create the stitch holes on the bottom edge as well. After that, it's stitching time. It's kind of hard to see the entire stitching process here as I'm doing it, but I'm tying a double knot at the end of the thread and then using a single thread to do a simple back stitch to secure the tongue tag in place. It's pretty easy to figure out, especially with the help of the guiding stitch holes. You don't have to be afraid that your stitches are going to be too lopsided. I just stitch all the way across, and when I get to the end, I tie a knot to secure the stitches and cut off any excess thread. I'm removing that piece of tape we put on the back before we sew down the back side of the tab to the shoe. Again, just tie off your stitches and cut off the excess thread for the other side. This part is easier than you think, but if you guys want a more detailed walkthrough of how to replace a tongue tag, let me know. I can film that video for you.
Okay, so the majority of the painting is already done. Last thing we have to do is, of course, lace up the shoes. I've got a red lace, which is quite nice. Red, it's super festive. Or I've got a cream color lace, like a beige lace. Yeah, I think this one should be fine, and it's probably the one that I'm going to use. But yeah, so let me finish that story that I was telling you guys about. So I ordered these 2 pair of shoes, and in talks with him, he was like, I want you to do this for me for a music video. Of course, it was a rush order. It was something that I had to get done within a very short time frame. I sent him an invoice. It was several $100s. It took a couple days to get back to me. First thing he had said to me was, well, your shoes are going to be featured in my newest music video for my new single, and I'm going to do everything that I can to shout you out, blah, 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 blah. But basically, What he was telling me is he wants to pay me in exposure. And this is like a couple $100. It's not even like I'm charging him thousands of dollars to do this project, you know? He told me that his management had already commissioned another artist in the community to do this pair of shoes. And I can't remember who it is now. It's not somebody that I'm close with, so definitely don't remember who did it. And he sent me the post of the guy actually doing it. And it was quite literally like somebody printed out like a sticker essentially of his lyrics in the DMs, like his album cover, stuck it onto the toe box of the shoes, and then color blocked a couple of things on a pair of Air Force Ones. At the end of it, of course, he said he would take it back and ask management if he could, you know, stretch the budget. It very quickly fell through after that, and I don't know why. I don't know if it was out of like embarrassment or shame, which I no longer have. Like, I don't really care about it that much. I think it's just kind of funny. It's very laughable right now. But out of that, I didn't return these 2 pairs of shoes. So I still have 2 pairs of Air Force Ones that I need to use up. That's why I don't take on orders simply because somebody is famous or because, you know, I think that I'm gonna get some kind of exposure associated with it. It's not gonna benefit me in the long run. And ultimately, I do believe that if you're looking for a job from an artist that you respect and appreciate, then you will do everything that you can in order to make sure that you're able to pay them, because this is their livelihood. This is how I'm going to be able to keep doing what I'm doing. I want to service clients that support my journey, and I want to do the best that I can. So I really am not about to dilute my focus for projects like that with people like this. And we fully laced these shoes. They are done. I am very, very excited about them. We have to do the box for this, which I should talk to you guys about that right now. Everywhere. Don't fall. I had this obsession with shoe boxes that weren't in a box form, but more in like a cylindrical form. It can take on the shape of many things. Crayon being one of them, that was a perfect use of sort of a cylindrical shoebox. So essentially, for me to be able to store my sneakers like this, it's supposed to fit like this perfectly. This is like a plumbing tube. The only thing that I could find that would like perfectly fit this is this cap here, which is fine, but it makes it super bulky, and the way that I printed out the wrapping paper, it doesn't really fit it perfectly. So I've been having a ton of issues finding the perfect cap for this. Whoa, calm down. This one is too loose. It doesn't actually stay put. Like if you try to dump it over, it'll just fall off. I tried to buy Pyrex lids that were 6 inches, but obviously it also is a little bit too small. So because of the strange diameter of this tube, I haven't been able to find a lid for it. And I found one of these, which would have been perfect because it kind of has that round shape of like the candy, but this also doesn't fit. Yeah, I'm at a little bit of a dilemma. So this is actually a print that I made of the packaging on canvas, and it's the wrapping paper for the candy that I wanted to make. I'm kind of just stretching it outside of this closet door because it was like rolled up when it was shipped to me. So I already tested it on a small ABS tube, so I think that's gonna work. If I just sand it down a little bit, maybe a layer of adhesion promoter beforehand.
And I just spray painted the entire tube in this cream color to make it look like the rabbit candy. For the lid, I used the laser machine to cut out 2 large circular rounds out of wood.
Slides in nicely.
And 2 smaller rounds that hopefully will fit perfectly on top of the tube.
Even work. Okay, center this onto here. There we go. It's a cap that fits.
Since the first one fits, I made some minor adjustments and cut out the other side.
Gorilla wood glue.
The next step is just to wood glue the 2 pieces together.
And after
after you stick it, you still have a little bit of time to move it around. As you see it kind of shifts a little bit. And clamp them down until they're dry. I'm also going to quickly sand the edges so that I don't get any splinters when I'm handling the lid. And somehow we made it a perfect fit. So I'm gonna paint them the same color as the tube. I didn't get much footage of this, but this is what the giant candy sneaker box looks like. It perfectly holds the sneakers, and we're going to use it for our photo shoot. So we are setting up to take photos of the shoes. And of course, it's just in my studio because all the lighting in here is already perfect. There's only basically like one light stand, and then we've got, what's this called, like a pole that's attached to the roll of paper that I've used. This is just a roll of bulletin paper that I got from Hobby Lobby. We're gonna take some standard like photos of the front, back, side, etc. And then maybe if we have time, get a little more creative with the photos after. Okay, this is quite ridiculous, but I've basically used a needle and some white thread to connect the candies so that I can hang them around and it looks like it's kind of flying everywhere. So I have a scrim on top that's kind of diffusing the light, and then I'm just like threading these candies into the scrim and keeping them in place that way. Like we're blowing a slight current over the little stringed candy so that it creates a little bit of motion blur in the picture. The big bad wolf. It's a lot of work for one shot, but it's really fun when it turns out. There were just too many things wrong with the background in these photos. I tried to use a cheap background solution, but the shininess made it very uneven and just a total pain in the butt to edit in Photoshop. Welcome to the second photo shoot day. It typically takes me a couple tries to get the right photos that I'm happy with, so this is our second attempt. And the first attempt was fine. There were some things that I wanted to tweak out, and after putting it on the computer, wasn't completely satisfied with it, so we're gonna do it again. I'm working on another project and I just threw everything back there really quickly, so just ignore that. Basically, I have a seamless that's draped over my work table, and then I have all the elements of the shoes there. I don't know if I'm gonna still be able to do those falling candies because that was a whole, like we were fighting gravity on that one. So this is so far what we're going to be using. That's the plan, that's the plan. And this is what the final results look like. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you give this video a like, click subscribe, and I'll catch you guys next time. Okay, bye. This one's open.